If you are looking for a trust structure that gives you strong asset protection, global recognition, and banking access without the baggage of offshore secrecy, Dubai offers one of the most overlooked but effective solutions. Most people look at British Virgin Island, Cayman, or Cook Islands when thinking about trust. But those jurisdictions often raise red flags for banks or regulators. What if there was a trust regime based on a top-tier financial center with clear model laws and still offer all the benefits of asset protection? Well, that's where DIFC trusts come in. And in this video, I'm going to cover all the details of having a trust in Dubai, what it is, how it works, and what it's for. Also, how to use it effectively as part of your wealth protection strategy. Dubai International Financial Center, or DIFC, is a financial free zone in Dubai with its own independent legal and regulatory framework. That means when you set up a trust here, you are not relying on the mainland Dubai law or offshore interpretations. You are working within a clear legal structure based on the English common law. It is tailored for international clients and overseen by a competent regulatory body called DIFC. A DIFC trust is a legal arrangement where a settler transfers assets to a trustee, who then manages those assets for the benefits of one or more beneficiaries. The core idea here is separation. You no longer legally own the assets, the trust does. For with the right structure, you can still influence the direction of the trust, especially if you're working with professional trustees who understand your goals. The trust deed defines everything: who benefits, under what conditions, and how the asset are to be managed or distributed. Now here is where DIFC stands out. Unlike many traditional offshore trusts, a DIFC trust is backed by modern legislation, the DIFC Trust Law. This law includes clear provision on asset protection, creditor claims, reserved powers, and forced heirship rules. For example, it explicitly limits the ability of creditors to challenge a trust after the assets have been transferred, provided that the transfer wasn't made to defraud. It also protects your wishes from being overridden by foreign inheritance laws. That matters if you are from a country with forced inheritance laws, like many in the Middle East, South Asia, or European countries. Many clients ask if the DIFC trust is private, and the answer is yes. There is no public register of the trust deeds. The structure is entirely private unless disclosure is required by the court or regulatory investigation. And because DIFC is a financial jurisdiction with international credibility, it offers a balance between discretion and legitimacy. You're not hiding anything, you're structuring. Another key question is that can you use DIFC trust to hold real estate, shares in a company, or investment portfolios? The answer is yes, you can. Trusts are incredibly flexible. You can hold property in Dubai or abroad, private company shares, bank accounts, intellectual property, or even family valuables. In fact, many founders use DIFC to hold shares of their holding company, especially when planning a future exit or managing succession. Let's take a real-world example. Say you're an expat entrepreneur based in Dubai with businesses generating cash flow and a growing investment portfolio. You want to protect your assets, reduce family disputes, and make sure your spouse and children are taken care of without risking exposure to your home country inheritance laws or possible future litigation. A DIFC trust allows you to transfer ownership of these assets into a professionally managed structure. You remain involved through reserved powers or protected role, but legally, the trust owns the assets. That separation is what makes the protection works. The process of setting up a DIFC trust is relatively streamlined. First, you define your objectives. Is it succession planning, tax efficiency, risk mitigation, or all of the above? Then you select a licensed trustee within DIFC. This is mandatory as only regulated entities can act as trustees here. The trust deed is drafted in line with your instructions and supporting documents are prepared. Depending on the assets involved, you may also need valuation reports or corporate resolutions. Once signed and funded, the trust becomes active. There is no mandatory registration with a government body, which keeps it discreet. You might be wondering about banking. Can a DIFC trust open a bank account? And the answer is yes. And this is one of the major advantages over some offshore structures. DIFC is recognized by most international banks, and a trust established here with proper documentation and compliance can open accounts in Dubai and offshore. In fact, many private banks are more comfortable onboarding DIFC Trust than other offshore entities from lesser known jurisdictions. Now, what about the tax implications? Now, Dubai doesn't levy income tax or capital gains tax, which is why many clients choose it, but you still need to consider your home country rules. A DIFC trust won't magically eliminate your tax obligations if you are a US person, a UK resident, or bound by CFC rules. However, it can provide deferral, separation, or timing advantages, especially if your tax stream structures it properly. And for clients coming from jurisdictions without aggressive look-through rules, the benefits are even more tangible. Some people worry about control. They ask that if I put my assets into a trust, do I lose control? Well, the answer is not necessarily. DIFC Trust allows for reserved powers. This means you as the settler can retain certain rights, such as ability to change beneficiaries, replace trustee, or veto decisions. There's also the role of the protector, a third party who oversees the trustee and ensures your intentions are respected. With the right balance, you get legal protection of asset separation while keeping strategic influence. You might also ask what happens when I pass away, and that's where the trust truly shines. Because the trust already holds your assets, there is no probate process or lengthy court decisions. The trustee continues to manage or distribute the assets according to your wishes, immediately and without the delays or costs associated inheritance proceedings. This is especially powerful for families spread across multiple countries or with complex dynamics. One important point is governance. A DIFC trust is not a set and forget structure. Like any serious wealth planning vehicle, it requires ongoing oversight. Trustees must act in the best interest of the beneficiaries and maintain proper records. Annual reviews, compliance checks, and sometimes even independent audits are part of a good practice. But this level of professionalism is exactly what makes DIFC trusts acceptable to banks, courts, and regulators. There are some limitations to be aware of. First, you cannot act as your own trustee. This maintains the integrity of the legal separation between you and the trust assets. Second, while the DIFC trust itself is tax neutral, you must still account for reporting obligations in your country of residence. Third is that it takes a minimum level of asset value to justify the structure, typically around $1 million and above. This is not a DIY tool. It's for those who want to do it right. Now let's talk about integration. Many of our clients used a DIFC trust as a top layer in the largest structure. For example, the trust may own a DIFC foundation, which in turn owns an offshore holding company, which then holds operational businesses or properties. This layering provides an extra firewall, especially when dealing with cross-border assets, legal risk, or succession disputes. It's not about hiding, it's about building robust, resilient structures that work across jurisdictions. DIFC trusts also work well with the family offices. In fact, many family offices in Dubai now anchor their structures using a DIFC trust to hold family foundation, investment entities, and real estate portfolios. This creates a centralized governance system, simplifies reporting, and prepares the family for generational wealth transfer. Now, what about the cost? A DIFC trust is not the cheapest option, but it delivers value where it matters. The setup costs typically range from $15,000 to $25,000, depending on the complexity. Annual maintenance can be around $5,000 to $10,000. That includes trustee fee, compliance, and sometimes legal support. For clients managing multi-million-dollar portfolio or legacy planning, this is a fraction of the value being protected. So who should consider a DIFC trust? If you're a founder, investor, or a family with assets in Dubai or globally, and you're looking for long-term protection, privacy, and control, and without crossing into questionable jurisdictions, this is one of the best tools available, especially if you want to future-proof your wealth against lawsuits, family disputes, or succession gridlock. DIFC trusts offer a modern, regulated, and globally respected alternative to traditional offshore structures. They combine legal sophistication with practical benefits, asset protection, banking access, privacy, and succession planning, and all of it within a transparent, compliant environment. If you own a business or real estate, Don't wait for legal or health crisis to start thinking about protecting your wealth. Many people think asset protection is only for ultra wealthy. But the reality is that some of these solutions cost as much as setting up a free zone company in Dubai. If you want to secure what you have built and ensure your legacy, you can request your free and customized asset protection plan by clicking the link in the description below. And if you're serious about building long-term financial security, you should really check out my next video right here.